From the earliest days of photography in the mid-1800s to the social media posts of today, the annals of modern history are filled with real scary pictures, more terrifying than anything you'll find even in the most disturbing horror film. Are you ready to unlock the chilling secrets hidden within these snapshots from the past? If so, keep watching as we take you through 30 of the most creepy pictures captured throughout history. Let's get started. Number 30. The 25-year captivity of Blanc Monier. In 1901, a chilling discovery shocked the city of Poitiers, France. Acting on an anonymous tip, authorities entered an aristocrat's house and ventured into the pitch-black attic. What they encountered was a nightmare. There, lying on a straw mattress amidst her own excrement, was a skeletal, middle-aged woman named Blanc Monier. She had been imprisoned for an agonizing 25 years by none other than her own mother. The stench inside the room was so overpowering that the officers struggled to continue their investigation. Blanche, a mere 55 pounds, clung to life after a quarter-century of captivity. This horrifying case raised questions about how such a horrific act could go unnoticed for so long. Number 29. The last victim of Jack the Ripper. The chilling saga of Jack the Ripper reached its gruesome climax with the murder of Mary Jane Kelly on November 9, 1888. When a rent collector entered her room, he discovered a nightmarish scene. Kelly's body lay mutilated on her bed, with various body parts and organs arranged beside her corpse. What set Mary Jane Kelly apart from the previous victims was the extent of her mutilation. The Ripper had spent nearly 2 hours meticulously carving up her body. Her murder remains one of the most disturbing and brutal in the annals of criminal history, leaving investigators baffled and terrified residents of Whitechapel and Spitalfields districts of London in a state of terror. Number 28. The Amityville Ghost Boy. In 1976, the Amityville horror house became synonymous with terror. After the infamous DeFeo murders, George Lutz and his family moved in, only to claim that the house was haunted. They called upon paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren for assistance. One fateful night, an automatic camera on the second floor captured an image that sent shivers down the spines of believers and skeptics alike. The photograph appeared to show a ghostly boy staring back, believed by some to be the spirit of young John DeFeo, who had tragically met his end in the house years earlier at the hands of his brother. Number 27. Inside a mental institution in 1900. Stepping back in time to the year 1900, we gain a harrowing glimpse into the world of mental institutions. The photograph depicts one of the countless patients restrained in a French mental institution. The patient's condition remains a mystery, as mental health diagnoses were often vague and wide-ranging during that era. During this period, individuals could be institutionalized for a variety of reasons, ranging from depression and shell-shock to schizophrenia and learning disabilities. With the abuses of patients like this one happening behind closed doors, we'll surely never know the extent of the trauma that these people suffered inside the institutions of old. Number 26. The Ice Mummies of the Lost Franklin Expedition. In 1845, the Franklin expedition set sail on a perilous quest to find the Northwest Passage, a treacherous Arctic route that promised to revolutionize British trade. Unfortunately, this voyage into the unknown ended in tragedy. John Hartnell, one of the expedition's members, met a particularly chilling fate. After departing England in May, the 134-man crew was never seen again. It wasn't until the 1980s that an anthropologist made a macabre discovery on an icy island in the Canadian Arctic. There, they found the preserved bodies of some of the lost crew members, including Hartnell. Hartnell's twisted expression here makes for one of the creepiest images of seafaring expeditions ever taken. Number 25. The trophy heads of the Maori. Long before European colonizers arrived in New Zealand, the native Maori people practiced a grisly tradition of preserving the severed heads of their fallen enemies. These mokomokai, as they were known, underwent a gruesome process involving chopping, boiling, smoking, drying in the sun, and dipping in shark oil. These preserved heads were then displayed or paraded as trophies of war. However, when British settlers arrived in the 1840s, they pillaged these mokomokai for themselves. Major General Horatio Gordon Robley, a British Army officer who served during the New Zealand Land Wars in the 1860s, was particularly fascinated by the Maori culture and collected at least 35 heads for his own macabre collection. Number 24. The spontaneous combustion of Mary Reeser. On the morning of July 2, 1951, in St. Petersburg, Florida, a strange and horrifying event unfolded. Mary Reeser's landlady went to deliver a telegram and noticed that her door was warm to the touch. Upon entering the apartment, she discovered a gruesome sight. Mary Reeser had been reduced almost entirely to ashes, with only a portion of her left leg and a shrunken skull remaining. Local authorities were baffled by the case, as there was minimal fire damage to the apartment and no apparent ignition source. The FBI was called in, and their investigation suggested that Reeser had experienced a rare and eerie phenomenon: spontaneous human combustion. To this day, the mystery of how Mary Reeser's body turned into a human candle remains unsolved. Number 23. The creepiest photos of the mummies of Vanzoni. In 1647, workers at a cathedral in Vanzoni, Italy, made a chilling discovery inside a tomb in the churchyard. They found the remarkably preserved remains of a man, his body having dried and shriveled to a mere 33 pounds. Despite the passage of centuries, this mummy had not decomposed. As more mummies like this one were unearthed in the ensuing years, both locals and experts were left bewildered by the preservation methods. The mystery of how these bodies had been naturally mummified persisted for centuries. Some theories point to a specific fungus responsible, while others attribute it to unique soil and water conditions. Yet, the secrets behind the mummies of Vanzoni continue to elude us. Number 22. Hannelore Schmatz, the skeleton atop Mount Everest. Hannelore Schmatz was not only the fourth woman in the world to conquer Mount Everest, but she also tragically became the mountain's first female casualty. In 1979, this German mountaineer embarked on a hopeful journey with her husband to reach the summit. However, during their descent from the treacherous peak, Schmatz succumbed to exhaustion and the harsh cold. Her body remained frozen on the mountainside exactly where she had fallen, sitting against her backpack, her hair blowing in the wind and her eyes hauntingly wide open. Climbers who passed her lifeless form on the trail would later recount the eerie sensation of her eyes seemingly following them as they moved past. Number 21. The Human Dolls of Anatoli Muskin. Anatoli Muskin's life took a dark and twisted turn. This Russian former journalist and college professor was a self-dubbed necropolist with expert knowledge of cemeteries. For years, his hobby of collecting dolls hid a macabre obsession that drew upon his particular interests, digging up the dead and making dolls out of their corpses. Muskin dug up graves and fashioned these grim human dolls, which he kept as companions and lovers. "I kissed her once, then again, Muskin wrote about one of his dolls. The dolls were made from the bodies of deceased children, including one as young as 11 years old. His grotesque hobby went undetected for years, but suspicions grew as more graves were desecrated in Nizhny Novgorod, his home city. In 2011, police finally caught up with Muskin, discovering a horrifying collection of 26 life-sized dolls, each one a mummified corpse. Number 20. 4 children for sale. This haunting photo from 1948 lays bare the devastating impact of poverty on a family. Mr. and Mrs. Ray Chalifo, residents of Chicago, were on the brink of eviction from their apartment and faced dire financial circumstances. In a desperate attempt to secure some much-needed money, this unemployed coal truck driver and his wife made a heart-wrenching decision. They would sell their own children. While some members of the family have claimed that their mother was paid to stage this distressing image, the reality is that the children were indeed sold to different homes within 2 years. Even more tragic is the fact that after being separated from their parents, these 4 innocent children, Lana, 6, top left, Ray, 5, top right, Milton, 4, bottom left, and Sue Ellen, 2, bottom right, suffered horrific abuse at the hands of their new families. Number 19. A letter from schizophrenic patient Emmy Hauk to her husband. Emmy Hauk, a schizophrenic patient, left behind a series of profoundly distressing letters during her time at the University Psychiatric Clinic in Heidelberg. These letters, penned over a century ago, continue to emanate a sense of profound despair. In 1909, she was institutionalized, consumed by the belief that her husband had contaminated and poisoned her with his kisses. One of the most haunting aspects of these letters is their repetitive nature, with phrases like "Herzen shashi kom," "Darling, please come," and "Kom, kom, kom," "Come, come, come," repeated incessantly. Number 18. Linda Blair's makeup tests for The Exorcist, 1973. The Exorcist is renowned for its terrifying makeup effects, and Linda Blair's transformation into the possessed Regan remains iconic. Makeup artist Dick Smith was responsible for this chilling transformation. Initially, Regan's makeup took on a more demonic appearance, which director William Friedkin deemed unsuitable. He wanted the makeup to appear as if it were the results of self-inflicted injuries. The makeup tests, as seen in these eerie photographs, offer a glimpse into the creative process that brought the character of Regan to life. The final version for the film captures the disturbing essence of the possessed child better than either makeup style.
All right, let's see what to do. Keep away! This hour is mine.
Number 17. Melted wax figures rescued from a 1925 fire. In 1925, a catastrophic fire engulfed London's Madame Tussauds, turning the wax museum into a nightmarish inferno. The aftermath, captured in this unsettling image, showcases the devastation wrought by the flames. As the fire raged through the upper floors of the building, it left behind a grotesque tableau. The museum's landmark dome, a precursor to the famous planetarium, was reduced to a skeletal structure. Charred limbs and broken waxwork torsos emerged from the wreckage, creating a scene reminiscent of a macabre mannequin graveyard. Number 16. Photo of 2 women with super long hair. While little information is available about this image, its eerie quality is undeniable. The women's hair extends to such lengths that it defies conventional norms, adding an eerie and unsettling aura to the photo. Some people believe that these women don't have arms. What do you think? You can comment below if you have any information about this photo. Number 15. The Tools of Ted Bundy. On that fateful morning of August 21st, 1975, the streets of Salt Lake City were plunged into darkness as a VW Beetle cruised by with its lights off. When a police officer attempted to pull the driver over, little did he know that this seemingly routine traffic stop would unveil a horrifying secret. The driver turned out to be none other than Ted Bundy, and his trunk concealed a chilling cargo. Within that trunk lay a disturbing collection of tools, each sinisterly linked to Bundy's heinous crimes, including the kidnapping of Carol Durant, one of the fortunate survivors of Bundy's gruesome attacks. Number 14. The expressionless face of a waxwork dummy. In 1968, photographer Anthony Armstrong Jones captured this enigmatic image featuring an expressionless waxwork dummy, flanked by 2 student nurses in training. This photograph, taken for his book Assignments, exudes an eerie aura that lingers in the mind. While there may be no ominous backstory to this photo, it remains one of the creepiest vintage pictures of the 20th century. Armstrong Jones, on the other hand, went on to achieve immense personal and professional success, with his photography captivating millions. He also captured the heart of Princess Margaret and ascended to the title of the first Earl of Snowdon after their marriage in 1960. Number 13. The Slaughter of the American Buffalo. Once a symbol of the boundless opportunities presented by America's westward expansion, the buffalo came to embody the harsh realities of manifest destiny. Prior to the arrival of European settlers, North America was home to an estimated 30 million buffalo. However, between 1800 and 1900, this population dwindled to a mere 325. This disturbing historical photo from 1892, taken in Michigan, reveals a gruesome sight: a towering mountain of buffalo skulls awaiting processing into products such as sugar refinement, fertilizer production, and bone china crafting. Even more disturbing is the knowledge that the U.S. government intentionally slaughtered buffalo to deprive Native Americans of this vital natural resource. Number 12. A Student's Dream. At the turn of the 19th century, medical students often posed for photographs alongside their deceased subjects. This practice allowed them privileged access to the human body, marking a significant boundary crossing in societal, moral, and emotional terms. John Harley Warner and James M. Edmondson aptly describe this in their work, Dissections, Photographs of a Rite of Passage in American Medicine, 1880 to 1930. The cryptic message scrawled on the table in this photograph reveals a macabre sense of humor among students. It reads, "A student's dream," implying the desire to swap places with the cadavers and have them pose with the living. The exact arrangement of the cadavers remains shrouded in mystery. Number 11. A shell-shocked soldier of World War I. Before the term shell shock evolved into war neurosis or post-traumatic stress disorder, and before experts comprehended the profound psychological trauma inflicted by war, World War I veterans grappled with their mental health in solitude. This eerie historical image portrays a shell-shocked soldier, starkly illustrating the horrors of war and the devastating effects of being entrenched during the Battle of Flers-Courcelette. Captured in September 1916, this photo was taken years before World War I even ended. By the time the end came, countless other men would suffer a similar fate. Number 10. Pete Spence, hardened killer of the Old West. In this haunting 1883 mugshot, we glimpse the face of Pete Spence, an elusive outlaw of the Old West who wreaked havoc in Arizona alongside the notorious Frank and Tom McClory. Spence had already gained notoriety as a thief, but his darkest notoriety arose from the suspicion that he was involved in the 1882 murder of Morgan Earp, brother of the legendary lawman Wyatt Earp. Remarkably, the only witness to the crime was Spencer's own wife, who claimed to have overheard him conspiring with friends to commit the murder. Despite her testimony, the judge deemed it inadmissible due to spousal privilege. Astonishingly, just a year later, Spence was arrested for brutally assaulting and killing another man. He served a mere 18 months of a 5-year sentence as the governor decided to pardon him. Number 9. Unit 731. Unit 731, Japan's Biological and Chemical Weapons Division during and prior to World War II, carried out some of the most grotesque human experiments in history. This harrowing photograph captures personnel from Unit 731 conducting a bacteriological trial on a test subject in November 1940. Driven by the desire to master germ warfare and explore the boundaries of human suffering, Unit 731 subjected countless Chinese civilians to unspeakable atrocities. These horrifying experiments ranged from inducing frostbite and performing vivisections on conscious patients to testing weapons on live prisoners and even rape. Number 8. Genie Wiley, the Feral Child. This poignant photograph from 1970 reveals a glimpse of Genie Wiley, known as the Feral Child from California. At the age of 13, Genie could barely walk. Throughout her life, Genie suffered severe abuse at the hands of her father, who subjected her to unimaginable torment. She was confined in a makeshift straitjacket, tied to a children's toilet in a locked room all day. Whenever Genie made a sound or exhibited any behavior her father disapproved of, he would respond with growls and threats, treating her like a dog. Under these brutal conditions, Genie never had the opportunity to learn how to walk or speak. When this unsettling photograph was taken shortly after her rescue, Genie's journey through a series of abusive institutions had only just begun. Her current whereabouts remain unknown. Number 7. The mummified corpse of Carl Tanzler's lover. The bizarre and macabre tale of Dr. Carl Tanzler unfolds through this unsettling photograph. When Maria Elena Milagro de Hoyos sought medical treatment from Dr. Tendler for tuberculosis, it marked the beginning of a twisted love story. Driven by obsession, Tendler fell deeply in love with Maria, even after her death in 1931. In a grotesque act, Tendler exhumed Maria's corpse from her mausoleum and transformed it into a makeshift doll. Using wax, coat hangers, and silk, he pieced her remains together. For 9 years, he lived with this grotesque creation, using it as his companion and sleeping partner until he was discovered. Number 6. The Last Moments of Regina K. Walters. Robert Ben Rhodes, infamously known as the Truck Stop Killer, terrorized America through the 1970s and 80s, possibly claiming the lives of over 50 women while driving commercial trucks. Among his victims, the chilling murder of 14-year-old Regina K. Walters stands out as one of the most harrowing crimes. In the moments leading up to Walters' tragic demise in an Illinois barn in early 1990, Rhodes captured a series of photographs. These images depict her cowering in fear as he closed in for the final, fatal act. After Rhodes was eventually apprehended several months later, authorities discovered this haunting photo and others like it in his home. Number 5. George the Mad Bomber Mateski. George Mateski, known as the Mad Bomber, plunged New York City into fear between 1940 and 1956. Over this period, he planted over 30 bombs in various public places, including Radio City Music Hall, the New York Public Library, and Pennsylvania Station. His explosive devices injured at least 15 people. Alongside his bombings, Mateski sent taunting letters to local newspapers, further unsettling the city. His reign of terror only came to an end in 1957 when he was arrested. Mateski's subsequent trial found him legally insane, leading to his commitment to a mental hospital.
As Mateski was wearing pajamas, the detectives asked him to change before his arrest. When he reappeared after changing, he was wearing a double-breasted suit that was buttoned up.
Number 4. Market vendors selling human remains during the 1921 Russian famine. This haunting image captures the desperation and horror of the 1921 Russian famine. In the midst of a devastating food shortage that claimed the lives of 5 million people, a Soviet couple from the Samara province resorted to selling human remains at a market stall during the winter of 1921. Number 2. Michael Rockefeller's death by cannibalism. This photo from May 1960 shows Michael Rockefeller, son of New York Governor Nelson Rockefeller, on his first trip to Papua New Guinea. His cheerful demeanor conceals the grim fate that would befall him in the years to come. Michael Rockefeller mysteriously disappeared in the early 1960s during his travels in Papua. It is believed that he was killed and consumed by the Asmat people, a cannibalistic group known for beheading their enemies and consuming their flesh. Number 1. The Exorcism of Analise Michel. The haunting tale of Analise Michel, a devout Catholic teenager in Germany in the late 1960s, unfolds in this unsettling story. Initially leading a normal life, Analise began experiencing blackouts at school, followed by increasingly bizarre behaviors such as convulsions, hallucinations, and disturbing actions like eating spiders and drinking her own urine. She believed herself to be possessed by the devil, a belief that her parents eventually shared. Tragically, Analise endured a total of 67 exorcisms, none of which alleviated her suffering. She succumbed to malnutrition at the young age of 23 in 1976, weighing only 68 pounds at the time of her death. Her harrowing story later inspired the 2005 horror film, The Exorcism of Emily Rose. Thank you for joining us on this eerie journey through history's creepiest photographs. If you want more terrifying tales and mysteries, subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell. Don't forget to like, share, and comment on your favorite eerie snapshot.